Jackson Radio Show.
Greetings and salutations. You are tuning in to the Disgruntled Millennial portion of the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. My name is Brett Siegel, the Disgruntled Millennial, where I broadcast to you live from my safe space down here in northern Florida, where I'm always free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, and patriarchy. And we have been here having a little chat with Michael Campina. He is a journalist, he is a photographer, and he actually found himself in ground zero of the one of these Confederate protests, and he was in the midst of all the hysteria. He was in the midst of it all. And, you know, we've been talking a little bit about free speech, about when is it appropriate to wear a mask, and when is it appropriate to get hysterical, and when is it appropriate to destroy your own city. Michael, let's talk a little bit about this.
On that note, because of that hysteria that we're talking about that I experienced, we started the conversation talking about my origins and my background and my experience growing up as a Latino, and how being a different shade of color in the same race was actually something enjoyable and something to laugh about, talk about, make fun of, create nicknames out of. Yesterday or a couple days ago, I don't know when it was, I'm an avid consumer of media, and I watch CNN frequently, and there was this small package they created. It was like this kind of like finger wagging. It's like, it said, don't say, if you said this, then you're probably wrong or something. I'm like, oh, great. Let's hear about what I shouldn't say anymore. So I clicked the video, and it was a bunch of people, Asian, Hispanic, Black, and they were saying that when people ask them where they're from, it's too much for them to handle. It's too much for them to handle.
It's a microaggression.
It's too much for them to handle. It's a disrespect on who they are as a person. Even though they are Taiwanese with Taiwanese parents, they're from Florida, and that should be the end of it. And every time somebody asks them that question, it's just like this mind-blowing experience, and it depresses them, and they get angry, and they were very snarky about it. And I just didn't understand that, because my whole entire life growing up in Miami, where are you from was actually a really positive thing.
Yeah.
You know, where are you from exactly? Oh, right. My people are from there too. Oh, you're from there. You don't look like it. And it's an icebreaker. It's a way to get closer to people, to understand their lineage, to create some kind of common ground.
Yes.
I was always enthusiastic about answering where I'm from, because nobody could guess. Most people think I'm a New York Jew. You know, and I'm a Miami Colombian. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's a fun conversation, and it creates, you know, warmth. My experience, you know, one of my best friends in Miami, Mikey Lugo, he's a production manager at New Times, advertising, genius artist. His parents one is Puerto Rican, the other one is Cuban. Historically, these two island nations, as similar as they are, they hate each other, but yet he's a product of a Puerto Rican and a Cuban's love. And still, we laugh about how much Puerto Ricans and Cubans don't get along, and I hang out with somebody who's a product of the complete opposite of that, and it's just an enjoyable thing to kind of kick around intellectually. If somebody asks me where I'm from, I get excited. I don't understand this hysteria. Right. You know, I don't get it. You know, like, where are you from means that I'm trying to, like, you know.
You're assuming that they're not from here. It's a microaggression. And you know what? This is one of the things, but this is why the right, the three people on the right could sit there and listen to the Antifa folks talk, but the freaking 50 people on the left couldn't sit there and listen to the three people who are on the right side talk. They couldn't even sit there and listen to them. This is why. This is why. It's because of the microaggression culture. This is exactly why. The microaggression culture basically says that you have to basically change your language in order to quell someone else's racial sensibilities or whatever, someone else's racial discomforts, you know, because listen, you and I don't assume that because someone isn't from here that they should feel uncomfortable, right? That's them assuming it. That's that person who is, quote unquote, not from here, who is having that feeling. It's not something that you're doing. You're not making them feel uncomfortable. They are making themselves feel uncomfortable.
I'm just curious. You know, I'm a curious person. I defy all racial, kind of norms, and I enjoy telling my story. And I just don't see it as a hateful thing to ask a basic question of like, it's like akin to being hateful about where do you work,
right?
It's a very simple answer,
Yeah, well, maybe some people are not proud of where they work, and just like some people are maybe not proud of where they're from. If I were from Syria, if I were from some hellhole in Syria, I don't know if I would be proud of that. If I were raped as a child because some Islamic creep tried to like pretend that I was some, just the crazy, disgusting things that go on over there. If I were from there, I wouldn't necessarily be proud of it. I think the movement to try to like make people try, the movement, this cultural relativism that makes people say, oh, well, you should be proud of where you're from no matter where you're from. Even if the most awful, terrible things go on there, just like you said, the boats are moving this way. The boats aren't moving that way. The question that you get when you get here is, where are you from? It's not, show me your information. I'm going to hit you if you're not from here. I'm going to hurt you if you're not from here. Get out of here if you're not from here. The question is, where are you from? But this is the thing. Microaggression culture, leftists are so weak that they don't even understand how strong this country is. They don't even understand how that's a good question, how that's a nice question compared to other places where you might.
It's a great question.
Where you might encounter
so many realizations.
Right. When you might in other places, if you were to encounter a stranger, there would be a much different reaction than here in America. If the worst thing that happens in your day is someone asks you, "Where are you from?" then you have it so good that you can. It's like you don't even know how good you have it. You have it so good that you are completely immune to the idea of not having it, of having it worse. That's how good you have it.
Do you know how much trouble I would get into if every time I travel to a foreign country, if I'm in France or when I've gone to Spain, and they ask me, where are you from, and I have an attitude with them? It would be absurd. It would be absurd.
And then you might say, well, my ancestry, I'm from right here. I'm from right here.
Yeah, and truthfully, I mean, because I book all of those social norms, and so even when they find out I'm from the United States, they're okay. Like, and so what state, and then what city, and then where are your parents from? And that's just how people communicate. That's how we get to know each other. It's not hatred.
Yeah. With that in mind, Michael Campina, photographer extraordinaire. I'm going to cut this off, and we're going to go to some commercials for our sponsors. We're going to do this again one day, man. As things progress, I want to make sure you keep in touch with me. I want to make sure everyone keeps in touch with Mike. We're going to put his website below. It's michaelcampinaphotographs.com, right?
michaelcampina.com. But who cares? Whatever.
MichaelCampina.com. That's CAMPINA.com. Michael, thank you so much for joining the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. Of course, I am the disgruntled millennial broadcasting to you not live from my safe space down here in northern Florida, free from your bigotry, racism, white supremacy, all that good stuff. I want to thank you again. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.